Hi, and welcome to the Global Conscious Health Summit. So happy to see you here. And today I have Gina Sager on, and she is a retired board certified general surgeon. She was named one of Baltimore's top docs in October 2000. That's awesome. And she permanently left the practice of traditional Western medicine in May 2002 to explore her longtime interest in holistic healing. And she studied and practiced Buddhism and the Tibetan tradition and studied the ancient wisdom traditions, including traditional Chinese wisdom and five element theory at Te Sophia Institute, and is a 200-hour yoga teacher trained in integrative yoga therapy. This is awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited about this topic.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So it's great that you went on this journey, and you know the body, and then you went, wait, there's something else here. And so tell us about that.
Starting with the easy questions first, I see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess the easiest way to explain that is really, I guess it all started in my Western medical practice. When sort of the norm of Western medicine is to try to fit people into categories and boxes. And just by default, because I was one of a handful of women surgeons in Baltimore, I ended up doing a lot of breast surgery. And I just remember a particular incident in a tumor board where we were talking about pathology, where I was certain that this person with that pathology was completely different from this person with that exact same under the microscope pathology. And it just wasn't clicking with the other oncologists. Like it didn't occur to them that people would behave differently because they had the same diagnosis or they were the same under the microscope. And I think that retrospectively, that was sort of one of the beginning points of saying, wait a minute, like we're not, our bodies are not cars. We can't just, take out a part and expect that there's not going to be other impact, whether it's mental or physical or emotional or spiritual. There's a sense of interconnectedness that I had sort of under my radar that I think was the driving force for just dis-ease with just trying to fix the problem and send people along.
Yeah.
So, of course, there were multiple crises along the way that helped me make my decision. But I think I just really wanted more. I believed somehow before I had any reason to, that there was something bigger than just fixing brokenness. And I've been called for the longest time, and certainly for my own healing, to shift the perspective from brokenness to wholeness.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great way to say it. Brokenness to wholeness. Yes, because there's so much more to us than this part or this piece. I've had some pieces taken out too,
Yeah.
and you wonder, whoa, did that cause, like, digestion? Did that, taking out my appendix, was that or a factor, not a cause, but a factor? Yeah. So
And it's not to say that we don't have to have parts removed. It's just to say that with an understanding of interconnectedness, we might offer something besides just post-operative narcotics. Really, like how do we integrate changes that might occur, and how can we start to attend to people that say things are different, like something's off, even if there's no medical reason. It's just how can we integrate the whole experience of the patient?
So tell us, how do you do that through yoga nidra, right? That's one of the things that you do. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So the reason that yoga nidra is so important to me is because I realized in the middle of my yoga teacher training that I had never in my entire life, and at that time, I guess I was 45, rested ever. And I was like, okay, wait, what was that practice that we just did? Because I've never felt like this before. Was it magic? And, my co-participants were like, it was a relaxation practice. And it was really, I'm serious, Jodi, I was like shocked. I said, I have never relaxed in my life. If that's what it is, I don't know what that is. And somehow I knew that that was going to be a really critical part of my yoga, far and away above the asana practice, because it just immediately clicked as the missing part. You know, I knew how to do things. I did not know how to stop doing things. And because I had a whole host of physical ramifications of having not paid attention to myself for my whole career, I'm like, wait, could it be that the answer for my healing is not to do more things, but to stop? And I got to tell you the truth, I kicked and screamed over that, because that's not what we know. You know, I know how to make things happen. I know how to get things done. And yet my heart was saying to me, you're not going to heal like that. Like, you really have to stop all of this stuff and drop into a deeper place. And so as I started to, you know, do my own healing work and really get serious about it, I realized that traumas, large and small, actually live in the physical body. And I realized that when you relax the physical body, you open up space for energy to move. And then when I delved more deeply into the practice of Yoga Nidra, I realized that that's actually the intention. It's opening up all of the energy channels in the body, releasing the cellular memory of trauma and pain, yours and past lives or ancestral lineage traumas. And it gives you access to the subconscious mind, so that instead of just being a product of the society in which we live and everybody else's energy, you get to start to grow your own subconscious garden so that you can show up in the world in your true authenticity.
Oh, so I wrote this down so I don't forget, because there are two things you said in there. And I want to like really like accentuate it so people get it. You said you know how to do things, but you didn't know how to stop doing things. That's profound. And because I went through that myself, and that was one of the ways I started healing, was like slowing down. And but it's because it's true, we're so trained to do but not be. And it is crazy, because it's like, well, why don't I just stop? But we're just wired to just keep moving. So somebody listening might be thinking, oh my God, I do the same thing,
And
going
it's
to
completely counterintuitive. Like, if I have something wrong that I want to fix, I'm not going to not do something. I'm not going to not Google 24/7. I'm not going to not try all of these supplements and diets and things. But I look at it in that, if I don't have the right information, I'm not going to find the right answer. So first I have to stop and really drop in, because I think the other piece is that most of us, like, I think James Joyce in the Dubliners said Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. So, we've got this head that's over there, and then there's the body, which we have no communication with.
Mhm.
And so if I really want to know what's wrong with me, I don't need to think about it. I need to listen and ask.
Yes.
And that's got a neurologic basis too. So it's not like this is just woo-woo.
Yeah.
Your body does inform your mind.
Yeah. Right. And are you listening?
Yes. And most of the time the answer is no, because we've lost the capacity to speak the language of the body. So it's about listening, and trusting. There's another tricky one.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting that your body is telling the truth. I teach in my mindfulness classes that your body does not lie.
Yeah.
Your mind absolutely will try to turn things around to suit your version of reality, but your body does not lie to you.
Yep.
So it's about really being fully embodied to gather the information.
Yeah. There was something else you said before too that I wanted to.
I know, sorry, I
No,
get
no.
excited about this.
No,
And
I know.
stop talking.
This is amazing, because but I'll remember. It'll come back to me, because as we're talking. So in this, and I want to expand on this too. Let's just keep talking for hours.
Just keep going.
So yeah, so that trauma does, or emotion or whatever, and traumas can be little or small. Let's talk a little bit about that. And yeah, they get trapped in your body if you
And I
don't
think
do something.
I think the most important thing to make a distinction about is that most people think that trauma has to be something horrific, something that everybody would agree is traumatic. And I completely disagree with that. And I think most people who know about adverse childhood events disagree with that as well. That it's really anything that just makes you feel unsafe, untended, unheard, can make you stop. It it makes you feel like you have to not be who you are. You have to stop doing that because it's not suiting somebody else's purposes. And
Yes.
when you resist, energy stops flowing. You know, and in traditional Chinese medicine, which is one of the many things that I work with, it's one of the premises is that stuck energy causes dis-ease. And left long enough, that will manifest as physical disease.
Mhm.
So anytime you just resist or you back off or you don't say what you need to say or you don't feel what you need to feel, it's my opinion that it just really gets stuck.
And how many times do we do that throughout the day even?
Yes. And I think most importantly, how did we learn to do that? So it's not just from yesterday. This is something that I learned as a child, or even more, I learned because my parents learned it, because their parents learned it. And then this epigenetic trauma comes because we're just transmitting these ways of behaving in the world. And they just are perpetuated until somebody says, wait,
Yeah.
wait, that's not true. And I want to interrupt this cycle.
Yes. That's good. Interrupt the cycle, because
Yeah.
it otherwise we keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. We want something different,
Yeah.
and it's not going to happen
Right.
until you interrupt, like you
Yes.
said, interrupt that pattern. Um, and so, I mean, even like a way to interrupt could even be driving a different way to work, or like you could start practicing with little teeny things, and then you get stronger. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share an acronym that's really useful to me in my mindfulness work, which is STOP. Like literally, because again, your body doesn't lie. So if your heart rate goes up, if your jaw tenses, if you get butterflies in your stomach, if you like literally recoil from something, you stop there and let that be a point of inquiry. Like just stop. Okay, what just happened?
Mhm.
Notice in that moment that you're probably not breathing, because when we have that kind of a reaction, we have inevitably gone and then we go through the whole rest of our day or our life right like that, and the out breath invokes the relaxation response. So when we hold that back, we're preventing ourselves from relaxing. So you stop moving, take a breath, more likely breathe out because you haven't. Observe with your eyes what just happened. And most importantly, let whatever you discover be okay. This is the tricky part, because it'll be what just happened and it'll be like that person cut me off in traffic. And then the next thing that happens is you're like, that's ridiculous. That's no big deal. But I say no to that. If that person cutting you off in traffic made your heart rate go up, your body doesn't lie. So yes, that is something worthy of your attention. It's not your place to make a judgment about whether that was enough to upset you when your body clearly said yes. And once you've gathered that information, then the next thing that you do, I have found the hard way, the next thing that you do is going to be completely different than the thing you would have done if you hadn't gathered that information. Does that make sense or answer your question at all?
Totally does. And right away I was thinking about kids.
Uh-huh.
When you're saying this, is if there's a parent watching who has little ones, this is something I didn't know, but when my daughter was little, wish I would have, but it's like they've got to be able to process through whatever it is, if they fell or oh, you're tough, whatever. but they're scared that, oh no, I shouldn't react. Then that's where that stuff starts to be taught and learned. And so if you allow them, oh, feel it or whatever, talk to them about it, they can process through that, and then it doesn't stay in them.
Yeah. And it will move if you give it time to move.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why saying no is a big no. Like, stop saying no. It's about how can I learn to just like ride the waves of my life. There are going to be challenges, there are going to be joys, not to have a preference for one or the other, but just to be willing to cultivate resilience. And this is literally cultivating resilience in your nervous system too, and in your energy body, because you're paying attention in a new way.
Yeah. And not making yourself wrong or judging yourself for feeling what you're feeling.
Yes. That's a terrible cultural sickness that we have, is to think we shouldn't be the way that we are.
Yeah.
And I'd like to poke any number of holes in that if we're able to do that today. It's just like, this is just true for me. Doesn't mean anybody else in the world needs to feel this way, nor does it invalidate how I feel because nobody else in the world feels this way.
Yes.
Because my experience matters, because I'm me. Nobody has ever been me before. And this sensitivity that I have about this is inevitably somehow connected to one of the unique gifts that I am here in this lifetime to share with the world. And so it doesn't make sense to talk myself out of my life experience. That's all I get. My experience is my life. So my work is to learn how to be fully present for it.
Yes. And we are here to experience. That's why we're here. Experience and expand ourselves.
And
Yeah.
that's, if I may, another little piece of Yoga Nidra, because the experience, while it's important, the way that we are used to experiencing the world is through our senses, and we have sensory overload because we don't understand that whether we're paying attention or not, all of this stuff in the world is coming in and making an energetic impression.
Yeah.
So Yoga Nidra as a practice is about turning off, sort of unplugging your senses so that they can rest for a little bit. I mean, in my lifetime, the amount of information that is available in a day has gone straight through the roof. We didn't have emails, and I mean, we had dial-up phones when I was a kid. We didn't have this 24/7 stimulation, and your senses get overloaded and tired.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Yoga Nidra is like, let's unplug and reboot. You'd never dream of not rebooting your computer or recharging your phone. And yet it doesn't occur to you to do the same for yourself.
That's a good message. Reboot yourself. Yeah. It's so true. We aren't taught that. And all that stimulation, I mean, that can cause so many things down the road. And I think, like, with me and my bloating issues that I had, it was the constant, and mine went my belly. So, because there's that direct connection in our bodies. And I didn't know enough then when that started to ask my body and to start I was looking for other things, natural things, of course, but there was so much more.
And that really does speak to the interconnectedness and the role of stress and trauma, because when you're stressed out, all of the energy leaves all of your essential functions in lieu of trying to save your life from this imaginary emergency. Mm-hmm. And so the things that suffer are your digestion, your capacity to maintain hormone balance, and most importantly for us these days is your immune system. Mm-hmm. So when we're worried about the pandemic and trying to stay well, I mean, it's those things don't quite go together. We have to really figure out how to settle down, because by relaxing, we're restoring resources to the immune system. So if and when there is an immune threat, we have the capacity to deal with it.
Yeah.
So stress, this is vagus nerve mediated. which also figures into trauma. So all it's, again, you just get this sense without even the details of the fact that every single thing is interconnected.
Yes.
And so every piece of this puzzle matters. Nothing is less important than another thing.
So looking at your body as a whole. Yeah. Which,
As a whole, that's connected to what's out there too.
mhm,
You know, like I'm going to be affected by the stress in the world. So it behooves me to make sure I'm clearing my own house so that I'm not overwhelmed by that.
yeah.
You know, I've sort of noticed that, not sort of, I have absolutely noticed that in this last year. You know, I sort of live off the grid. I've not been out in the fray and the worry and the stress.
You're right.
And I have been worried and stressed. And it was clear to me that it's not mine. It's just coming in because I am a very, very sensitive person to energetic changes like that. And so thinking that you can remove yourself from the situation is not actually the case. You have to still shore up your energetic boundaries so that you're not taking on the angst of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I live in an apartment. So there's all kinds of energies going on here too. So
And we have to. So that's why some of these practices are so wonderful, because it's when we understand that we can choose to start to do things that are creating strength in our energy bodies, because strength in the energy body is going to translate into strength in the physical body, so that we're not as easily affected. We can create resilience in the nervous system. We can create resilience in our behavior. We can create resilience in the energy body. So when there's a threat, we just bounce back more quickly. And that's sort of the practice part,
yeah.
because most of us are not very bouncy right now. We just sort of freak out and live up there.
Yeah. Yep. Right. Wow. And that's you getting really connected into your body too. Okay. So, oh yeah. So then I was going to say one of the things about going on today is like, just unplug from the news. Like, please. Like, so it is meant to have trauma and drama, and it is. I mean, that's how they sell. There's so much more to that topic, but that's just I stopped watching the news many years ago, and uh, I remember I was working out one day and I didn't have, I think I forgot my phone or something. I had my headset and I plugged it in and I watched the news for like, because it just happened to be on, and for like 2 minutes, and I was like, holy moly. And then I realized, wow, what an effect it really did have. It's not good.
Yeah. Yes. And you know, most people are not aware.
Yeah.
Most people are not aware of that.
No, no. Yeah. Okay, so what are some simple exercises that we can do to help with the energetic boundaries?
Yeah, so there's some really easy things that you can do that I was very, very skeptical of in the beginning because of their simplicity. But if you, I think the one I'll share with you has to do with central meridian. So this work is based in Eden energy medicine. I've done a couple of years of training and many, many years of practice in Eden energy medicine, and it works with 9 different energy systems, but this particular practice has to do with the meridian system. And so central meridian runs from the pubic bone up to the back of the throat at the level of the lower lip. Governing meridian runs up the back of the body, over the head, at the back of the throat, at the level of the upper lip. And when those 2 meridians are flowing with ease, it creates an energetic spine, like a microcosmic orbit that's sort of sending out electromagnetic waves of energy to keep you intact and safe. The interesting thing to me is that central meridian, you know, I think probably because it's right here over your heart, if it's not intact, if it's not shored up, or you'll see in a minute, zipped up, this is the place that is the most vulnerable to taking on imprints from the environment. And particularly in this day of Zoom time, your heart is right at the level of the computer. So it's coming right in here. So a very simple thing that I like to do, I actually do it a lot of times a day or whenever I feel sort of frazzled, is just to imagine that I'm going to clear this out. Like clearly stuff has been coming in. So I imagine there's a zipper at my bottom lip and I unzip it 3 times.
Okay.
And then I just use my hands like windshield wipers to just clear whatever stuck energy might be there.
So you're kind of moving, clearing and moving, right?
Clearing it with your hands. Your hands are magnets. Energy follows intention. So I'm dissipating anything that's dense and stuck. And then I like to add figure 8s because Donna Eden, my energy medicine teacher, sees figure 8s in the energy field of healthy auras. So we want to create that kind of healthy energy field. And then you put your hands back on the pubic bone and you imagine that you're just zipping it closed. And then lock the door and throw away the key. Just 3 times like that. And you sort of shored up this central line of the body so that when stuff comes in, it acts as an antenna. Your aura and your energy field acts as an antenna and a filter. So it has an intelligence of its own. If it's intact, it's going to know, oh, this is good stuff. Let's make space for it to come in. If it's wide open, then everything's going to come in. But if we keep it intact, it's going to repel the things that are not for our greatest good. Energetically, you know, that sense of resonating or not resonating with something.
Yep.
If you have that awareness, your energy field is likely helping you make those decisions.
Oh,
So that's a really simple thing to do. And then when you just feel like you've had it or you feel stressed or in your head, just to dance around the room and draw figure 8s. It's sort of, it's as simple as saying, if I feel compressed and tense, I want to make space. So energy needs space to move. So maybe I'll just stretch at my desk. Maybe I'll literally push energy away so that I can feel like there's room to breathe. And then I'll draw figure 8s. You know, the figure 8 thing that I think about is that if it's cold outside and I have a sweater on with a really loose weave, the air comes right in. So I don't want that to happen for me energetically. So I want to tighten up that weave. So the more I draw figure 8s in the air that are overlapping and crossing over one another, the more I'm tightening up the weave in my energy body so that I have more protection. Again, it's not blocking the world. It's increasing the energetic intelligence out here so that you're stopping stuff before, you know, you collapse at the end of the day.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. It feels so good. I can feel the energy from here. I'm sensing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really, really simple. And honestly, when I first started, I just was so uptight that it annoyed me. And I think that that's really the thing, because what I'm used to is being compressed.
Yeah.
So when I make space, it's a little bit terrifying sometimes. So, I mean, you just take it easy, like in my own space. What does it feel like to have room to actually breathe?
Yeah.
You know, and once you really get a taste of it, that's really what you want.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
I remember, and I sometimes teach this to people. It's like, also a simple little thing. It's like, and it's women, like we're always doing for others, you know, and we're compressed. Oh, okay. Can I help you? Whatever. And it's like, start taking up room, like sit on the bus or, you know, whatever in your, what, I don't know, bleacher, whatever, you know, take up you know, in the movie theater, take up space, go, you know, just keep expanding and taking space and start getting used to taking space and, you know, and then do what you're doing too. That's like huge because you're moving the energy. And I just thought of that because that's also kind of moving the energy
Absolutely.
too.
I mean, because it's going from like, I'm going to shrink and that's causing compression everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to expand. And again, the part that's maybe the hardest to get your mind around in the beginning is that if you make space for energy to move, it will. And so as silly as it might sound, if I've got something stuck in my throat, like I don't want to say this thing, if I really make space, it's not like I'm going to necessarily blurt it out, but it might be clearer to me whether it really needs to be said or not, how I want to say it, but it gives me more power. So
Yeah.
these little practices are very self-empowering. And I think self-empowerment is another thing that helps to heal trauma,
Yes.
to realize that I can so do something. I cannot change the past, but I can absolutely change my relationship to this thing that reminded me of the past, which is not the past because that was then and I'm here now. And so you do have these little dialogues with yourself in the moment to say, wait, I actually have choices. What
Yeah.
happened then is I didn't know I had any choices, but now I do. And maybe then I don't misunderstand me. Maybe then I did not have any choices, but now I do.
Yes.
I've got more power and more choice, and I don't have to continue to reenact the times when I didn't have power or choice.
And one of the things too is consistency, like doing what you're saying, consistently, because, and this is going to be made available for people to purchase too, if they want to keep watching that, or they connect with you to get these practices to do this, but to keep consistently doing it, because we're constantly bombarded every single day. And like you said, reboot yourself. And yeah, so it's important.
And because your nervous system and your energy body really does form habits, just like we have our own habits.
Yeah.
And every time you interrupt that habit, you create a new possibility. And slowly you uncouple that automatic pilot
Yeah.
reaction and you start to feel it coming. And then you're like, wait, I don't have to do that. I can do something else. And every time you do that, that new neural pathway, that new energy pathway gets stronger.
Yes.
And so again, I want to continue to emphasize the empowerment piece, because otherwise I remember times when I'm like, I'm not going to do those things all day. I have to do those exercises all day, every day. It's like, well, but just do it and see if it matters. And once you start to see that it matters, then it doesn't feel like, discipline with a heavy hand. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm doing this because this is good for me, but because it feels good for me.
Yeah.
Not because I have to, but because I'm choosing to, because it really does change my experience of reality.
So I get really real. And so I always swear I'm always talking about the bathroom. It must be because I used to live in the bathroom when I had all my digestive issues. But it's a private place. So I'm always thinking of, people that are working and they're in that, environment of that, and they come home and they have kids and they got to cook and, all of that. Go to the bathroom and do this. Like, just go in the bathroom, shut the door, lock the door, and just do this. Even at work, you can do this at work, shut the stall, whatever, and just, well, you might not have much room, but do the energy thing.
Well, and energy follows intention. So you can sit at your desk like this.
Mm, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So true.
Or visualize. Energy follows intention. Now, I think it's important to move the body, because in the physical body is also where it's stuck.
Mhm.
But energy follows intention. So even that will start some movement.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not like, so yes, this point is you can do it, you can
What
do
you
it.
can do it. And, the other, I think, piece that I do want to bring up is that for those people that you're talking about that are always taking care of everyone else, which is often women, I know, somebody once told me something that completely blew my mind, which is that true service comes from overflow.
Yes.
So, we can talk about self-compassion and all of these things, but when you really start to think, if I actually want to be able to take care of these people the way that I want to take care of them, I can't do it from an empty cup. I can't. So when I go and close the door on my family right after I've gotten home, it's not being selfish. This is for them.
Yes.
If I take 5 minutes to replenish myself, everybody's going to benefit from this.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Good way to end our talk. Is there anything else you want to share before we finish?
I want to put another plug in, for Yoga Nidra, and we didn't really talk about the details of it. Let me just say,
Yeah, let's talk. We can take a few minutes and talk about it.
it's a guided imagery practice, and the sort of the very superficial way to explain it is that it's for deep relaxation and rebalancing. It has the physiologic effect of 2 to 8 hours of restful sleep, and there's the other problem that we have.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so at the very most tip of the iceberg, doing an hour and a half long practice, which makes everybody go crazy. I'm like, if you do an hour and a half and you get 2 to 8 hours worth of benefit, it's not time off, it's more time. So you have to rest. I just don't believe that you're going to be able to do any kind of deep healing work if you're frazzled. There aren't enough resources for it. So first you have to rest. And then doing the same practice, what it actually does, the way that it's structured, the way that the instructions are given, it literally turns off the fight or flight response. It shifts all of the resources back to the relaxation response, and it shifts you out of this left brain, right, wrong, good, bad, got to find the answer yesterday, into the right brain, which allows a lot more space and paradox and is more sensorily inclined, more sensual, more emotional. It brings balance to the 2 hemispheres of the brain, which then is balancing the masculine and the feminine aspects. It opens up flow in all of the 72,000 nadis, according to Ayurveda and yoga, that flow through the body, the energy channels. And in this deeply relaxed state, you can hear images that might be provocative to you in the awake state, and there's no physiologic response. And so in that way, you're literally, while you're not doing anything, you're literally reprogramming your reactivity, releasing and healing traumas that have been stuck for a long time, and you don't have to know what they are. So this has actually been used at Walter Reed in returning Iraqi war veterans to great effect for PTSD, because you don't have to re-traumatize anybody. You just you relax them enough so that they can open and let this stuff that's under pressure just move.
Wow, that's
and again, you may never ever know what, if anything, moved, but most people who do Yoga Nidra, I know that something happened. Like, I don't know what it is, but something happened. I feel different. If I do it in the evening, I sleep better. The next day's better. Sometimes the next week is better. It's just easier.
Yeah.
There's more balance and ease. And that's the place, I think, that true miraculous healing comes from this place of ease, because then there's room for possibilities.
Yes.
If I'm in this tiny, tight, restricted place, there are no other possibilities. So there's no matter if I have the right medicine or I'm doing the right practices, there's no room to move. So first I make the container, first I make space and establish flow, and then everything can happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Huge. That's huge.
I think it is, and I realize how completely unsexy it is to talk about rest. But it's like, I just want everybody to know, if you rest, your life will change.
Yes.
Like real rest. True relaxation is described as complete freedom from physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual tension. So I don't know what anybody thinks, but nobody's relaxing ever.
No.
So when you have a taste of this, it's like, wow. And then when you see what having a taste like that does when you go back into that world, and there is more room and there is more resilience and you're not quite as reactive, it becomes a self-fulfilling healing prophecy, I think.
Yeah.
So I can talk for days about this.
I know, right?
But
it's so huge. Yeah.
But the good news is that for those who are interested, there will be an offering of a Yoga Nidra that they can try at home.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about that? Your free gift.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to give you 2 free gifts. One is called Chakra Recharge or Reset. I forget what I named it. Just a guided imagery. All of the yoga nidra practices have the same intention for relaxation. And then I just change and rewrite the guided imagery at the end. And this is specifically working with resetting and recharging of the chakras. So it starts with a little bit of energy work, a little bit of meditation, just to settle down so that you can drop into a deeper state. And then it's an hour long where you do nothing. You just lie down on the floor, the bed. Most everybody goes to sleep because we're exploring that tiny space between sleep and wakefulness. Usually it's the alpha state, but when it's really deep, it can drop into theta. So we're really working in the deeply relaxed meditative dream time spaces. So that I really, really hope everybody will try it. And truthfully, if they really just want to try it for sleep, you can use it for just sleep and it will enhance your sleep. And then just because I knew our time was short, I'm going to offer a 17-minute daily energy routine, which expounds a little bit upon what we just did with the zip up. It's based on Donna Eden's work. It's my version and with a little more explanation. And once you learn this 17-minute group of practices, my intention is not for you to do this practice every day necessarily, but to just be out in the world and go, whoa, I feel really, really ungrounded, and have something to do about it in the moment. Not because you're broken, but because you have power to shift energy from out of balance back to balance.
Yeah.
So those are my two.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Can't wait to do this. So, all right, Gina, thank you. And thanks for watching. And we'll see you in the next interview. Bye.